to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Josh All Alone, your host today. Happy Friday, everybody. I know the work week has been grinding on, but here we are getting closer to the weekend and a couple days off. Hopefully you guys are staying cool. I know where we are here in Ohio, it has been 95 plus degrees, just sweltering humidity. It's been a blazing stretch of days here in Ohio, but it's, you know, it rained for like 3 months in a row and then boom, hot. So hopefully wherever you guys are, if it is hot, you're staying cool and everything. But I hope you guys are all enjoying your Friday and you have a great weekend planned ahead. Today, I want to dive into just some of the recent news here this week that has come out. We'll touch on some things, dive a little deeper into some others. We're going to talk about Ogbo Okoronkwo getting cut. I guess I won't have to, say that name anymore after this. And then, we're going to talk a little bit about the quarterback situation, who some people in the media have been predicting will start week 1 for the Browns, kind of what they're hearing from the organization. And yes, just to kind of do a little spoiler alert, this will be a bash on Kenny Pickett episode if you're interested. Also, we're going to talk about real quick the training camp schedule that's been announced and just touch on the Brook Park Stadium news. So we'll dive into that stuff here today. Before I do, make sure you guys are liking this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new that's coming out over the summer here. We got a lot of stuff coming, especially as we ramp up toward training camp and then throughout the preseason. We've got some live episodes planned going on. We've got some events coming up. Stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you guys follow us on all the social media outlets. At the Dawgs Podcast is the handle everywhere. And make sure if you want to play fantasy football with us, head to jointhedogs.com. Get signed up on the Patreon now. Drop your name, email, register on the registration post there on Patreon for the fantasy football leagues. They're filling up. Now, we don't have a set number of leagues that we need to fill, so we're going to create as many leagues as we need to based on how many people sign up. But once we get to an even number, maybe it's mid-August or whatever, because we're going to have to coordinate everything, divvy up the leagues, get the draft date set. So we don't have a hard cutoff. We're shooting for August 22nd, but if it's sooner, because we have an even number of leagues, we'll cut it off sooner. So get in now. Do not wait. It's just $5 a month. It's like a cup of coffee that you're donating each month to the podcast. You won't even notice it's gone, but trust me, it does very much help us out financially as well. So jointhedogs.com. Come play fantasy football, or if you just want to help support the show, you want to get synced up with the private Discord, get into the Dog Pack community, whatever you want to do, we've got it at the Dog Pack. So jointhedogs.com to get in there. Okay, so we'll hit the recent news here quick. Ogbo Okoronkwo. Oh man, I cannot say his name fast. Ogbo Okoronkwo. There we go. If I just slow down a little bit and not try to talk so fast, sometimes things work out a little better. But anyway, Ogbo, we're just going to call him the rest of the time Ogbo. It has been released by the Browns. He signed a 3-year, $19 million contract with the Browns back in 2023 to come in here and be a rotational pass rush specialist behind Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. They had, 2023, they had Alex Wright going into his second year, and they had Isaiah McGuire on his rookie season that year. So they brought in Ogbo to be that rotational specialist and everything. And in his first season, 2023 with the Browns, 31 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, was really good in that department. He had, the bicep or triceps injury, something like that, knocked him out at the end of the season. And then he came back last year in 2024, was not quite as effective for the defense. 23 tackles, 3 sacks, just 5 TFLs. Coming down off of that 12 the year before. So, he's not a starter. He's not a guy you're leaning on the defensive edge to, be that guy for the defense. He's more of the, like I've been saying, rotational pass rush specialist. He comes in, in those situations to put pressure on the quarterback and that sort of thing, but just not quite as effective last year in 2024. Good dude. He's been a fun guy to have on the roster. He liked being in Cleveland. I think he liked Jim Schwartz and the defense and everything like that. But when the news first came out the other day that we had released him, I thought, okay, I did the defensive line breakdown last week. Ogbo was a guy that I believe I mentioned as, he could be in a roster spot battle, training camp battle throughout the summer and all that kind of stuff. He might not necessarily make the team, but I could see it going both ways. I figured that decision, though, would come closer to the season. And then the news came out. I was reading a little bit more about it from some different sources. And okay, it actually does make more sense that the Browns made this move now rather than during the preseason or right before the season started. So this move actually does make sense both for the Browns and for Ogbo. So I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs here from an article by Pete Smith from the OBR. He says, the fact that Ogbo's contract did not include a deadline in the form of a roster bonus allowed for the possibility that he could hang in limbo up until the start of the season, which is kind of what I speculated might happen. He said, it's far more common for these contracts to include a roster bonus in March, and that forces the team to make a decision earlier on in the process. The Browns would have almost certainly turned down that option, and Ogbo would have been a free agent with the best opportunity to cash in with a new team. So the Browns could either renegotiate the contract with Ogbo, resulting in a substantial pay cut for him, but a guaranteed spot, kind of like what we saw with Jerome Ford. They could trade him, or they could hold on to Ogbo into August in case they suffered an injury at the position. Even if they had gone with that last option, holding him through training camp, and an injury were to occur, the Browns would still want to renegotiate the contract because he was due $6 million this season. The league, all the other teams in the NFL came to the same conclusion as the Browns because he was not traded. He was cut. Nobody wanted to pay him that $6 million for this season. That wasn't going to change before the start of training camp. So, the Browns have two young edge rushers that they feel confident in opposite Myles Garrett. Whether you agree with that assessment or not, Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire, they think can fill that role over there. They signed Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, JTS, this offseason, and as soon as they made that signing, it did open up this potential for Ogbo to be moved on from. His spot was kind of put in jeopardy with that signing, and I think what they saw from JTS here in the OTAs and minicamp, they liked a lot from what I read, what I heard from people at the camp and at those practices. JTS was just exploding off the line. He's younger. He doesn't have the injury history that Ogbo has and all that kind of stuff. And he doesn't have the expiring contract, which obviously made Ogbo expendable, unfortunately. So the Browns decided to move on from him. I think overall they saved like $3.4 million against the cap. It was the last year of his deal anyway, all that kind of stuff. So it works out for the Browns. They saved some money on a guy that they weren't going to be extending or anything like that. And, they have more depth at the position. It made this a possible move for the team. But for Ogbo now, he gets the next, 4 weeks until training camps begin for teams to go find a new team. And I think that was, great move on the Browns' part for Ogbo. Hey, look, you've been here the last couple seasons. You've worked hard for us. We like having you around. It's just, obviously, we talk all the time. The NFL is a cutthroat business, and these sort of decisions happen all the time by every team. And I think the Browns did do Ogbo a service, a good favor here by cutting him now, giving him the next month to go out, try out, interview with teams, and find a situation that fits him rather than cutting him partway through training camp when teams are already finalizing their rosters in their minds, or at the end of training camp before the season begins, where it's like now he's really scrapping to make a roster or, find a place where he can play a role. So now he's got that opportunity. The Browns gave him that. They saved the money. They, don't have to go through training camp, giving reps to Ogbo whenever they really want to be giving, more reps to these young guys on the team and that sort of thing. So it all works out in the end. It just one of those things. I liked Ogbo. Again, not the most effective guy on the defense, but he did play a role, and I thought he did do it well. It's just last year the production dipped. Going into last year of his deal, there's money to be saved. There's other players to be, prioritized. And that's kind of the situation here for Ogbo. So thank you for your time here, and best wishes on whichever team you sign with next. Moving into the next thing I want to talk about here. Well, I guess before I dive into the quarterback stuff, I just want to mention, I'm not going to go into details here because I haven't been following the situation closely enough to give you guys a very adequate or substantial overview of the Brook Park project. But the news did come out that Ohio lawmakers have approved the budget or whatever the situation was for the Browns to begin construction on the new Brook Park Dome Stadium. So it's happening. I mean, we said it from the moment the news came out that the Haslams bought all that land over by the airport in Brook Park. This is happening. It doesn't matter how much fight that the city or the county or whatever, it doesn't matter the opposition. This is going to happen one way or another. They're going to make it happen. They're not investing in that area, that land on a whim or on a hope and prayer that this does actually come to fruition. Like, this is going to happen. And, the ups and downs of the story here and there, whatever it was, boom, here we are. It's happening. So the Browns are slated to carry out their lease with the current stadium on the lakefront, I believe, through 2028. And then home games are scheduled, or at least projected to begin in Brook Park starting in 2029. So if you guys are a dome stadium advocate like me, like Justin and Blake, like the guys on this show, you are pumped about this. If you are a keep the team downtown on the lakefront type of person, you're not pumped about this. But the writing was on the wall. You really can't be surprised that this is happening unless you were just convinced that it wouldn't somehow. But I'm telling you, this is what was going to happen no matter what. So that is now a sure thing, and it's going to be here, at least they're projecting 2029. So that's exciting. I think it'll be fun to see a nice new state-of-the-art stadium in Cleveland. Okay, so now I want to move over to the Kenny Pickett conversation. Deontay Johnson, who the Browns, signed, kind of on a prove-it situation here this year, was on a podcast talking about who just a bunch of different things. And of course, they asked him about the quarterback situation in Cleveland. His quote was something along the lines of, I believe they're going to roll with Kenny Pickett, at least to start the season, I think is kind of what he was saying. And okay, so Deontay Johnson says that he played with Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh for a year or whatever it was, 2 years. He's going to probably be more likely to stick up for his guy and all that kind of stuff. So him saying that about Kenny Pickett was not the most needle moving thing for me. But then TJ Hushmanzada was on the Nightcap show or podcast on YouTube talking about it. And he said that from what he's hearing from people within the Browns organization, he said it's not players on the team. He said, but people within the building in Cleveland are saying that it's either going to be Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel to start the season. So there's a lot of Kenny Pickett buzz right now. And if you guys have been following the show for, any period of time here this year, you guys know as soon as the trade was announced that the Browns, sent a 5th round pick to Philadelphia for Kenny Pickett, I was not on board. I was like, come on, are you freaking kidding me? Kenny Pickett, that's not who I want. I don't want him on the roster. I was not pumped about it in any way, shape, or form. And I think then on the podcast here, Blake obviously was the leader of, well, let's look at the upside that he could be in Kevin's offense, yada, yada, yada. And it was, okay, maybe we can talk ourselves into how this might be able to work for the Browns. But then I went back and I thought about last year, we did the same thing with the hiring of Ken Dorsey. As soon as it came out and they announced that they had hired Ken Dorsey for offensive coordinator, the gut reaction, the instant reaction was, are you kidding me? That guy? No, this is not going to work. And then we talked ourselves into, okay, well, here's how it could work. Okay, here's some positive things about it. Maybe. Okay, fine, we're on board. Well, it turned out that the gut reaction, the first reaction, was the right one. So I'm sticking with my initial reaction on Kenny Pickett and saying, are you freaking kidding me? I'm not on board with Kenny Pickett. So yes, this is going to be a little bit more of a negative segment. If you're not into that, tune out, because I'm going to kind of give my reasoning as to why I have zero hope for Kenny Pickett being any bit of an answer for the Browns. And it all comes down to touchdown rate. I'm going to go into a lot of details here, give a lot of examples about touchdown rate for these quarterbacks and for Kenny Pickett specifically, because Of NFL quarterbacks who have 500 or more pass attempts in their career, Kenny Pickett has the lowest touchdown percentage, touchdown rate in NFL history at 2%. His touchdown rate in his 2 seasons starting with the Steelers was 1.8%. Still the lowest in NFL history. No quarterback with 500 or more pass attempts has a lower touchdown rate in history than Kenny Pickett. And that's the guy being buzzed, talked about, projected potentially to start the season for my football team. Not on board.
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Browns fans, if you're looking to upgrade your wedding band, look no further than Manly Bands. They have reimagined wedding bands for men, and they have some of the coolest materials, coolest designs, coolest collections for men that you can find out there on the market right now. You can head over to manlybands.com and use promo code DAWGS50, that's DAWGS50, to get $50 off your order. They've got ring collections like Jeep, Lord of the Rings, Fender, Jack Daniels whiskey barrel bands. Yes, you can get a band made from a Jack Daniels whiskey barrel, DC Comics. They've got dinosaur bone. That's right. They've got rings made from dinosaur fossils. They've got meteorite. They've also got the other materials like platinum, titanium, gold, white gold, tungsten, pressed black diamond, carbon fiber, and of course silicone bands whenever you guys are out there working and on the go. And brand new right now, they are launching their NASA-inspired collection. They've got the Lunar, featuring the texture of the moon's surface. They've got the Cosmos, with shimmering crushed opal inlaid in sleek black zirconium, and the Aerospace with black zirconium with gold leaf inlay that invokes the glint of solar panels as they catch the sun's rays in orbit. They've also got chains, your necklaces, your bracelets, and they've got all kinds of cool gifts, barware, groomsmen gifts, anything that you guys need. So head to manlybands.com right now and use that promo code DAWGS50 to get $50 off your order. That's manlybands.com, promo code DAWGS50. So I want to look at some other former first round picks and how they fared early in their career, maybe how they ended up later in their career or whatever. We're going to go through a bunch of names, a bunch of rates, talk about all this. So just stay with me. Before I do, I want to mention that a high touchdown rate, what is considered to be a higher touchdown rate, is about 6% or higher in the NFL. The NFL average for like an average quarterback play on a whatever average team, you're looking between 4 and 5%. So just to keep those numbers in mind as I go through these percents. So let's look at some former first round picks and how they fared earlier in their career. I just said that. Sorry, I'm repeating myself on my notes. Anyway, so let's talk about Zach Wilson with the Jets. Zach Wilson was abysmal with the New York Jets over his 3 seasons that he played there and started, and he had a 2.5% touchdown rate. So remember, Kenny Pickett, 1.8 in Pittsburgh, 2% over his entire career because he had a couple games where he played with the Eagles, and of course you're going to play a little better with those weapons and that line, especially late in the season like they were playing when Jalen Hurts was hurt because they were playing some teams here and there that were already out of contention. But anyway, just keep those numbers in mind, 1.8 or 2, however you want to look at it for Kenny Pickett. So Zach Wilson in New York, 2.5%, and he was terrible. Geno Smith, he revived his career whenever he got to Seattle and had a 4.3% touchdown rate. When he was with the Jets early in his career, he was at 3.2. So Geno Smith looked to be like another draft bust. He was at 3.2%. Sam Darnold, everybody's favorite ingredient used in an argument for Kenny Pickett. They always point to, well, look what Sam Darnold did with Minnesota. Sam Darnold, in his first years with the Jets, whenever he was sucking real bad, was at 3.7%. Remember, Kenny Pickett was at 2 or 1.8. Sam Darnold was terrible, and he was at 3.7%. He dropped down to 2.9% when he was with the Panthers, which is not good, still higher than Kenny. And then last year, he jumped all the way up to 6.4% with Minnesota. So I think Sam Darnold's touchdown rate this year, I don't know that I do not think this is hot takey whatsoever, but I don't think it's anywhere close to 6% in Seattle. I think you're at best, Sam Darnold this year will be right around the 4%, maybe like a 3.7, 3.8, the high threes in Seattle. I don't think he gets anywhere close to 6. He's going to drop back down to what his career average has typically been. That's just my personal opinion on Sam Darnold, but we'll see what actually happens there. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about Sam Darnold. Actually, I'm interested to hear about that. But I think so far, based on what I'm telling you guys, you can see that not a single one of these players was ever below 2%. And again, Kenny Pickett was at 1.8 with the Steelers. So Justin Fields, who never really leveled up or whatever when he was in Chicago, even Justin Fields was at 4.2% over those 4 seasons in Chicago. Much better than Kenny. Now, I know that a lot of the Picketeers, that's what we're calling you guys now, you will argue that it was the offense in Pittsburgh. It was the Matt Canada offensive coordinator and all the scheme and all that kind of stuff. It was the Mike Tomlin, mentality and style of, pound the rock and play good defense. We're not doing anything flashy, yada, yada. But what if we look at some of these other quarterbacks from Pittsburgh over these recent years? Remember Devlin Duck Hodges? He had 160 pass attempts for the Steelers, and he even had a 3.1% touchdown rate. In 2022, when Kenny Pickett was a rookie, Mitch Trubisky had a 2.2% touchdown rate in 5 games. Kenny Pickett had a 1.8%. In 2023, Mason Rudolph started some games, 3 of them, had a 4.1% touchdown rate in the same offense in which Kenny Pickett had just a 1.9% rate. In 12 games started. Even Mitch Trubisky in 2023, again, same offense, same offensive coordinator. He started 5 games, or he made 5 appearances that year and had a 3.7% touchdown rate. So in the same season, in the same offense with the same players around you, Mason Rudolph, 4.1, Mitch Trubisky, 3.7, and Kenny Pickett comes in clear down at 1.9. Now, even last year, with Arthur Smith running the offense in Pittsburgh, which nobody is mistaking Arthur Smith as a guy who's putting out an offense that even remotely resembles anything pass-friendly. Nothing Arthur Smith. I hate Arthur Smith. I don't know how Steeler fans are putting up with having Arthur Smith as their OC, but Russell Wilson even had a 4.8% touchdown rate last year, and Justin Fields had a 3.1 in that Arthur Smith offense. So I think you guys can sense the theme here. None of these quarterbacks with these sub 3% rates have ever been anything more than a second or third string spot starter, break glass in case of emergency type of quarterback in the NFL. For some additional perspective here, just how low is 1.8% for Kenny Pickett? PJ Walker, okay, the hero and almost the villain of the Browns' big win over the 49ers back in 2023, PJ Walker has a career touchdown rate of 1.8%. Same as Kenny Pickett, okay? PJ Walker, he was no fun to watch. Like I mentioned in a post that I made on social media, how unbearable was watching Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. I mean, looking back over the games that he played, how fun was it watching the offense struggle to score? Deshaun was not moving the ball very well, not scoring a lot of touchdowns. In his time with Cleveland, Deshaun Watson had a 3.4% touchdown rate. Kenny Pickett has a career 2.0%. If you thought watching Deshaun Watson was unbearable, what makes you think Kenny Pickett's going to be any better? Jacoby Brissett, his career touchdown rate is 3%. And he was slightly higher than that whenever he played for Cleveland. He was at 3.3%. Let's keep going here. Let's look at a guy like Desmond Ridder. He's from Kenny Pickett's own draft class, taken later in the draft than Kenny Pickett. Desmond Ridder, 2.8% touchdown rate when he was in Atlanta. Not great, but still a full 1% higher than Kenny Pickett was in Pittsburgh. How about somebody like Davis Mills for the Houston Texans? 3.7%. Or Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders, 3.4%. So basically, what this is all meant to show is that Kenny Pickett's historically low touchdown rate isn't just a knock against him or a minor concern. It puts him in company with all these quarterbacks who are no more than depth options at best in the NFL. Like, be honest here, guys. You would not be excited if the Browns were being predicted right now to start Desmond Ridder or Duck Hodges or Mitch Trubisky this season. Nobody outside of maybe Blake would be excited if the Browns were going to start Zach Wilson. We wouldn't be giving the benefit of the doubt to Davis Mills or Aiden O'Connell. So why is anybody suggesting that we give Kenny Pickett the benefit of the doubt? And I want to be clear, like, this isn't me rooting against him. I don't want him to fail. When I talk about stuff like this, I mean, I am praying that I'm wrong. I would love nothing more than to come back on this podcast in a few months and say, man, what an idiot I was. I was so wrong about Kenny Pickett. Boy, did he ever prove me wrong. I got to eat my words. This is embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. But I'm here in June, almost July right now, and I just don't see how this is going to work, how this could possibly work for the Browns. If they roll with Kenny Pickett to start the season, I give it like 3 games until the fan base is just 100% ready to move on. So to put things again into a little more context within the Cleveland Browns specifically, Kenny Pickett has a career touchdown rate of 2%. That is the lowest in NFL history among all quarterbacks with 500 or more pass attempts. The lowest in NFL history. Put that in perspective with other Browns quarterbacks. So Joe Flacco in his 6 games with the Browns, 204 pass attempts, had a 6.4% touchdown rate. Deshaun Watson, 557 pass attempts with the Browns, 3.4% touchdown rate. Again, if you thought watching Deshaun Watson was a struggle, man, he had a 3.4% rate. Kenny Pickett with the Steelers, 1.8. DTR with the Browns, 230 pass attempts, 0.4% touchdown rate. He threw 1 touchdown to, I think, 10 or 11 interceptions. DTR might be the worst quarterback to ever play in the NFL. Maybe. We'll see. Kenny Pickett then, of course, with the Steelers over those 2 seasons, 713 pass attempts, just an abysmal 1.8% touchdown rate. If you thought watching these other quarterbacks for Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, DTR, was tough and a struggle and unbearable to watch, I'm telling you, the numbers are not giving me any optimism that it's going to be better if Kenny Pickett were to win that week 1 starting job. Now, again, he could come out and completely prove me wrong, and I hope he does. That would be wonderful. But I want to just lay it out. My expectations are not high. If this is the direction the Browns feel like they want to go, they want to give Kenny Pickett an opportunity, I am predicting it is going to blow up in their face. I do not think it is a good idea whatsoever. I want to hear what you guys think, though. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what you think about all these other players I talked about, these touchdown rates, these numbers. Do you even care about touchdown rate? Do you think it is really indicative of how a guy can play in the offense? I'm looking at the numbers and I'm saying I see no quarterbacks that are even close to Kenny Pickett's touchdown rate that I would be happy with leading my team. And for me, that's a problem. But let me know what you guys think. Very interested to hear how you feel about the possibility of Kenny Pickett starting for the Browns in week 1. So the last thing I want to dive into here today, and then I'll get you guys out of here to enjoy your weekend. But the Browns did announce their training camp schedule for the summer. So if you did not see this, you did not hear about it, I just want to make sure I mention it in case you're looking to get tickets or to get up to training camp to get your own eyes on this team and specifically onto this quarterback competition. But the first date would be Friday, July 25th, and then Saturday, July 26th, Monday, July 28th, Tuesday, July 29th. And then the last 4 dates, Wednesday, July 30th, Friday, August 1st, Saturday, August 2nd, and Monday, August 4th. So all the training camp dates this year are early on in the summer. We have after August 4th, that's it. There are no more opportunities for fans to get up to Berea to see the team practice. And the reason, it's not because they don't want you there or they're changing the way the reason is because as soon as August 4th, that last training camp date that's open to the public, to the fans, the Browns go right into joint practices down in Carolina with the Panthers before their first preseason game on August 8th. And then the following week, they go to Philadelphia for joint practices with the Eagles before that game on August 16th. And then they come back to Berea and they got to fine tune everything. And it's usually not open to fans at this point anyway, before the preseason finale against the Rams on August 23rd. So they got 2 weeks where they're not even going to be there. They're going to be in Carolina practicing with the Panthers, and then they're going to be in Philly practicing with the Eagles. So if you want to get up to training camp, I know we're planning on it. We're going to try to get up there to get some, just some firsthand experience with this new team, with the way they're running this new system on offense, the new scheme and everything, and of course the quarterback competition. But you're going to have to do it early. You got to be prepared. As soon as training camp kicks off there, like I said, July 25th, July 26th, the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, and of course then August 1st, 2nd, and 4th will be the last dates you can get up there to see the team. So let me know if you guys are heading up to training camp. If you are, what do you want to see? What are you looking for? What will you be paying the most attention to for this team? We've got a few weeks here on this summer break. We've got some guests lined up that are going to be coming on the show to talk about expectations and things for the season and things that they're hearing and seeing behind the scenes and all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned for all that. Again, like I told you guys, if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. If you're on an audio listening platform, please give us a 5-star review. Specifically on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star written review. Man, do those ever help out the show. Seriously, they do. And then, of course, if you want to play fantasy football with us, or if you just want to help support the podcast financially, it's just $5 a month, a cup of coffee to you. Makes a big difference to us. It's jointhedogs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. Sync up with the private Discord. Get into the Dog Pack community. Hang out with everybody. It's a ton of fun. And of course, put your name down on the registration form to play fantasy football with us this season. It's coming fast. Everything's coming right around the corner. We got training camp. Before you know it, it's going to be preseason. It's going to be the regular season. And once that starts, fantasy drafts are already over. So make sure you get in and hang out with us all summer. It's a fun time. It's going to be a great time. Diehard Browns fans, this is what we live for. Get hyped for the season before, the potential. I'm going to say the potential because I do think there's a possibility we're better this year than people think. But before the potential of disappointment sinks in. Appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay cool. Again, if you're in a really hot area like I am, and we will see you guys on a live. Oh, I want to make sure I mention this before I wrap. Another live, I think we're going to do a live listener mailbag segment next week, probably on Tuesday night would be my guess. So if you want to get your questions, your comments, your takes into the show for us to answer or to react to on the listener mailbag show, make sure you guys go to thedogspodcast.com, leave us a voicemail or just send us a message with your question or your thoughts. Drop a question in the comments on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you guys follow us and comment, and we will pull your questions, put them in the show doc, and we'll hit everything, or hit as many as we can on the show on Tuesday. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Until we see you guys Tuesday night, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Baden Sports. Browns fans, it's summertime. Time to get outside and take advantage of the beautiful weather and play some backyard games. Head over to badensports.com, BADEN sports.com/dogs, and check out all their summertime gear. And for 10% off your entire order, just use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. Now, if you guys love pickleball, Baden Sports has all the gear you need, including a variety of paddles, balls, and complete pickleball sets with a pack and go carry case so you can play in the backyard or take it on vacation to play with the entire family. Baden Sports also has volleyball and badminton sets, croquet, horseshoes, bocce, and even Vikings chess. And no summer break is complete without some good old-fashioned wiffle ball. Plus, Baden has all kinds of different basketballs with special outer layers that are designed specifically for whatever surface you'll be playing on. So don't waste 1 second this summer. Head to badensports.com/dogs to get the backyard outdoor gaming gear that your family needs and get 10% off your entire order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. That's badensports.com/dogs.